want to talk to you a little bit about the aspect of control. Control seems to be our favorite thing. You know, the book says that dogs learn by repetition. We go out there in the front yard, it's 98 degrees, and we're demanding that they retrieve a bumper over and over and over and over. And it makes us feel like we're accomplishing something. And the truth is, we are accomplishing something when we do that. We're probably really taking the joy out of it, and more dogs are ruined that way than any other way I could think of. You know, if you get one good retrieve, stop. You're not going to improve on perfection. So if it's a real good one, then, you know, stop that exercise with that memory, because, you know, that's the sight picture that you want them to go away with. And it can only go downhill from there. What's the advantage of trying again and having it go wrong? And as human beings, we always have to be in control. You know, and we're going to show you this. I say this repeatedly, but we're actually going to show you in our video when dogs are, you know, out of control, in control, how to put them back in control, how to, you know, start in control. And that's really the secret. You start in control, you end in control. You know, right off the tailgate, you know, a dog doesn't come out of the box without an invitation, doesn't come off the tailgate without an invitation, doesn't eat without an invitation, doesn't go into the house or out of the house without an invitation. That's control. You don't have to be a jerk about it, but that's control. Now, we just got back from filming a little wire hair, and when she went on point, I got ahead of her and told her to wait. And she's only 5 months old or so, and that intimidated her just a little bit, and she backed off a little. Well, most people would grab her then and put her back on point. Well, now she's confused, and you stamp confusion because we got to be in control. Well, no. She's got to have a little time to figure that out, but she's also got to realize that I flush the birds. She doesn't flush the birds. Now, eventually, we may teach her to flush the birds and lock back up on point. You know, my wire here, I don't go in the grouse thicket and flush a bird. You know, when I get in the shooting position, I let her pop the bird because, you know, getting in behind her in the thick brush and trying to, you know, flush a bird. Of course, grouse flush easy, but what if it's a woodcock and it's right in the middle of the greenbriers? Why should I wade in there and flush that bird? I'm going to send her in. But that comes from control, but it's not the kind of control that we think of. It's not the kind of control that the book talks about. It's that you're in control of the situation. And the dog understands that, and the dog responds to that very, very well. They're a pack animal, and they would rather not be in control. We think, well, they like to be in control, and wire hairs may be the exception. But in general, dogs would rather that you're in control. They like to have their own program. They like to run their part of the program their way. And you should let them, because good dogs, smart dogs, will do a better job running their job than you will. You know, it's like a good manager. You know, a manager that micromanages is not a good manager. He's not getting the best out of his people. What's the same with a dog? You know, what the dog does best, you let the dog do best. And there's some guys that run dogs very, very well, and they don't train their dogs very much. They train them to come when they call them and you know, to be obedient in that respect, but they just get them on a bunch of wild birds and let them figure it out. And sometimes that's not a bad approach. But as we go through this video series, I'm going to show you how I'm in control of a situation, and when it erodes a little bit, how do I react to it? Because that's usually where we get in trouble. When things don't go quite like we think they ought to, then we got to jump in there and just manhandle that situation back into play. And generally speaking, that's a mistake. It's not always a mistake, but generally speaking, that's a mistake. And you know, when I had done this about 5 years and I knew all there was to know about it, like everybody else had done it for about 5 years, I used to be pretty hardcore, not physically abusive, but I could really get tough on the dog sometimes. And over the years, and watching the really good dog trainers, I've kind of backed off of all that and realized that control is a lot easier to maintain if the dog understands what you want. Because if the dog is plugged in and part of the program, control is natural to the dog. It's easy. And so this whole control thing, as we go along, I'll take a minute and say, look, that's where control comes into play. So, if a dog is getting out of control, I'll show you how to put them back in control. But generally speaking, you're going to find out that we react just before the dog goes out of control. Once again, that's the key. Timing is the key. Jump in there just before it happens, because it's a lot easier to correct than it is chasing a dog halfway across the field and getting it straightened out. But anyway, it's getting a little hot, so I think we'll wrap this part up and get back out there.